Did Squid Game ruin or reinvent K-dramas? Okay, that was a little dramatic, but that's okay, that's okay. Hey guys, it's me, Sydney. Welcome back to Sid's Films. Y'all know at this point, I make whatever I want to make. I've actually been wanting to make a video about K-dramas for a while, but I didn't know what K-drama to do it over. And then, to my surprise, I found out Squid Game Season 3, the final season, was coming out. And I was like, this will be perfect. So here I am with the video. I'm sure this shouldn't be said, but yeah, all spoilers included. All of them. Get ready to fangirl with me because honestly, K-dramas, it scratches an itch that I've been wanting from just regular Western television. I've endured 20 episode slow burns, watched my favorite characters die, get amnesia, recover their memories, and die again. But when Squid Game came out, it gained so many Western audiences. I'm not the type of person to jump on the bandwagon, okay? I was like, okay, y'all keep talking about the show. I'm sick of hearing the show, blah, 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 blah. And to be honest, maybe I was saying that because somebody spoiled it for me. I never really got around to watching it when it first dropped. So before we get into Squid Game, I'm here to drop a little bit of facts you may or may not have known about Squid Game and the history of K-drama. K-dramas have come a long, long way. Early 2000s, it was all about troubles, car accidents, and second lead drama. The iconic tropes. Piggyback rides, hospital scenes, the dramatic back hugs. We love them, but K-dramas also evolved with the country's culture. They started digging into themes like generational trauma, hyper-competitive education systems, the wealth gap, and most recently, mental health, social justice, and politics. The best ones don't just entertain, they dissect. And maybe I'll do a different deep dive of K-dramas, but for now, that's my little tidbit there. So why did Squid Game take so long? So maybe y'all know, maybe y'all don't know, but Squid Game was originally written back in 2009. That's over a decade ago, guys, by Hwang Dong-hyuk. Studios kept saying, no, too violent, too weird, too niche. Look at them now. Then suddenly, Netflix came knocking on the door, honestly, and he's been cooking ever since. Let's be clear, this isn't a true story, but this is based on real world issues. Personal debt in South Korea is sky high. The labor market is cutthroat, and there's a widening gap between the haves and have-nots. And Squid Game asks, how far would you go if you were already out of options? Stylistically, this show is genius, honestly. All the color schemes, the palettes, the stairs, the masks, the suits, everything perfect, perfect, perfect. Bright pastel playrooms, masked guards in perfect formation. The geometry of childhood turned into a war zone. Every color, every camera angle, it's meant to disorient you. This show isn't just violent, it's smart. It gives us a morality tale wrapped in a game show, played by people who have already lost in life. So let's break down Squid Game. Not just what happened, but why it happened, who it benefits, who suffers, and who was never supposed to survive in the first place. Okay, so let's start with season 1. We meet our main character, Sung Gi-hoon, player 456, and that is indeed how we will be referring to him for the rest of this series because there's too many names. I need y'all to get with the program for real. A textbook K-drama tragic lead. Down bad, gambling addiction, owes money to the loan shark, living with his mom, divorced with a daughter he barely sees. Normally this would be his redemption arc, but Squid Game has no interest in saving him. Not just yet, probably not at all. He and 455 other people just like him are tricked into a strange competition with childlike games and a fat stack of prize money. Then it begins. Red light, green light. We're talking brutal, bloody, instant chaos. Hundreds die, and somehow Gi-hoon survives. Player 001, the old man smiling mid-slaughter. Weird, strange. As I said before, this is gonna be a deep dive. We're putting on our detective hats. And when we have our detective hats on, guys, we're going to have a detective board. Let me take you to the wall. Hi friends. I'm going to take you down the Squid Game lore, and there's no easier way to do this than strings. I made a whole detective board of everything important going on. So we're gonna keep it as simple as possible for season 1. Player 456, Sung Gi-hoon, who is friends with player 218, Cha Sang-woo. Down here, 199, Abdul Ali. Player 067, Kang Sa-byuk. And player 1, Il-nam. We get our first rule drop of the game. If you're eliminated, you lose. But what they don't tell you is that you're eliminated with bullets. So let's read some more into the game itself. This is what I have gathered from the game, which is from the episodes Win or Die. So far, what we know in episode 1 is that there is 456 people that were recruited, and they all seem to have a common issue. They're all in debt. They seem to play children's games, and the winner takes all. That's what we know about the game in this episode. Moving on to our key players, 456. His reason for playing, gambling debt, and boy does he have a lot of them. And he has an estranged family. His wife got divorced, the mother took the daughter. We don't really get too much into it. He wants to go gamble so he can win some money to get his daughter something good. He also has an addiction. Let's not look past that, guys. Let's not look past that. Player 218, Cho Sang. Okay, I don't speak Korean. I don't speak Hangul. I'm sorry. He's a finance fraud. He graduated from this top-notch school. I don't know how he got into the finance fraud business. He owes somebody a lot of money. Essentially, him and 456 are childhood friends. We don't really know what happened to Cho Sang-woo after he went to college and graduated. A lot of the times they refer to him as the smart child, and they think of him as this great person who went to college at a top school, graduated in top class, blah blah blah. But it seems like the reality is a lot more darker than they think. Player 001, the Trojan horse. In this episode, we don't know why he's here. All we know is that he's eager to be here. Maybe that's old age, or maybe it's something more. Okay, stay with me. Next player, fan favorite, player 067, Kang Se-byuk. And she is all about her family. She's doing this for her family from North Korea. Her and her brother moved to South Korea. She wants to bring the family together. That's kind of her main plot points. Player 199, Abdul Ali. Nice, sweet, polite, very innocent. That's kind of what it gives. He's a migrant worker, and he's trying to support his family. Everybody playing the game is strapped for cash, so obviously. That's a run through of all of these characters. Let me explain the board to y'all real quick. The red strings are kind of the main plot points. The orange strings, friendships or acquaintances, a personal connection, but it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the main plot. But at the end of episode 1, this is what we're left with. This one is called Hell, and that's ironic because it's the only episode where they're not in the game. They end up voting to leave the game, and so they all go back to their normal lives. 456 thinks he'll get his life back on track, maybe see his daughter, you know, maybe live the good life. Sungwoo's reputation is in shambles, Ali's boss steals his wages, Se-byuk can't bring her family together. Reality hits harder than any bullet, and you start to notice how hard life is before they even join the game. So, voluntarily, they all decide to go back to the game. Gi-hyun goes to the police to tell them about this crazy experience that just happened, and no one believes him. But one man listens. His name is the detective for the rest of the season. His brother went missing some time ago, and 456's wild story matches what he found in his brother's apartment. That's the thread, so let's follow it. Coming in hot, this is episode 2 of season 1 of Squid Game, okay? As you can see, we have a lot more going on, okay? The board is boarding. So this is the episode, all the players decide to leave, and we get a glimpse into their real life. Okay, not everything's good on the other side of the field. Blue lines are essentially, I guess you could say, character motivations, character thoughts. So with player 456, he just wants to reconnect with his daughter. And time and time again, he's learning that, hey, this is not gonna be as simple as I thought it was. Player 218, he is ashamed of himself. He thinks about ending it all. He does not want to let anybody know the issues he has been facing alone. Player 199, he can't make a living. We learned in this episode, he can't make a living because his boss has secretly been stealing his wages. Player 067, she just wants to reunite her family, like I said. Player 001, obviously, we don't know anything about that man. We're introduced to a new character, the detective. That's my man for real. That's my man for real, guys. Detective Hwang Dong-hyuk. The only notes I have for him so far is that he's headstrong and determined. We get a little glimpse of his plot point. Player 456 left the game. He immediately went to the police and was like, hey, like, some weird stuff is happening. This stuff is real, like everybody's dying. Police don't believe him. Nobody believes him. But one person was listening. We find out the detective is looking for his brother. Player 456 was talking about a recruitment card. The detective went to go to his brother's apartment to find him. He finds a recruitment card. So he's like, hey, is this what old man was talking about? And he thinks that his brother got a recruitment card to then join the game. And we'll get into that soon, trust. The players are back and they're already scheming. Teams are forming, alliances are shaky, and player 67 climbs into the air vent to hopefully find something. Honestly, I didn't really know what exactly she was looking for real. She finds something and she smells the smell of sugar. That doesn't seem important to her then. Back with the detective, he figured out, okay, some weird things are happening, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm in there for real. So he ends up infiltrating the game. He rides underneath the cars, like he's doing some crazy things, and he is now disguised as a guard. Back with the players, it's time for the next game, Dalgona. Essentially, you have to take a candy and carve out the shape. Except if you break the cookie, you die. Sung-woo figures it out, but he doesn't tell his team. Player 456 picks the hardest shape, the umbrella. Zoom in on the honeycomb because something's cracking. Episode 3, not much to explain other than we meet some more people. We get some insight in the game itself and how it's operated. In episode 3, they have formed an alliance with player 1, player 456, player 218, and player 199. The detective, he goes to a spot where the players are picked up to be re-entered into the game, and he disguises himself as a guard. And now he is directly correlated to the game now. As we learn a little bit more about the guard, we learn that some of them seem to be kids. A guard was held hostage and he took off his mask and he was like, hey, like, you're just a kid. We also learn about the front man, and he seems to be head honcho around this area. When the kid took off his mask, front man came in, eliminated him immediately, swiftly. The front man is head honcho around here. He seems to be leading the guards and maybe this whole entire game. The players learn a new rule. You can kill each other at night. Purge night is upon us. People die, sleep becomes a gamble, chaos erupts. Meanwhile, we discover a black market organ harvesting ring led by a player doctor and some guards. And yes, the detective is still here, rising the ranks, stealing masks, dodging death, honestly, all the above. You know, he's a true detective. If I want somebody on my case, I want it to be him for real. Back with the players, as Purge night is pursuing, player 1 climbs to the top of the bunk, screams for everything to stop. And surprisingly, it all does. Something's not adding up. So let's get back to the board. Episode 4, my board is getting busy. And thing we learned in this episode is that the guards and a player seem to be in cahoots in an organ harvesting ring. Harvesting ring has now been exposed. The guards eliminated, no loose ends. Literally everybody dies. Everybody dies. Everybody. The detective keeps sneaking deeper and deeper, and he finds records going back for years, which means that this game show has been going on for quite a long time. He ends up finding that his brother won the game in 2015. The childhood bestie nearly murders player 456 in his sleep. It's getting a little dark, guys. So let's crack open those archives. The main string additions. The organ harvesting goes quickly sour, okay? And it gets my buddy killed. Okay, so he's gone. The guard that the detective killed and stole his identity of, he is actually involved in the organ harvesting. As the detective is snooping around, the missing brother was, in fact, in the game. And not only was he in the game, he won. He won the game in 2015. Still, nobody knows where he is. But we learned that the game seems to go on every single year. So we're kind of getting the vibe that this is a global expedition. Honestly, guys, episode 6 is probably one of the saddest episodes. We learn more about each character, why they're here. This episode is a masterclass of weaponized trust. Players are told to pair up, and most think that it means teamwork. The twist is only one person in a pair survives. In the game, marbles. A game of chance and betrayal. Player 456 and 001 team up. They play a slow, emotional round, and player 456 lies to win. Player 218 and 199 pair up together, and 199 ends up being tricked as Sung-woo put rocks in his bag. Player 067 and a girl that they met, Ji-young, they share stories instead of playing. And Ji-young chooses to lose. Therefore, Se-byuk wins. Now, let's go back to the board and see where we're at. Player 218 tricks 199, he dies. Player 456 and player 1 group up. Player 456 lies, player 1 dies. Player 067 groups up with another girl. We don't really see her that much, she's not really that important. The other girl dies and she survives. And yes, episode 7, the rich arrive. Gold masks, human furniture, all the worst stereotypes, honestly. But here's the kicker. They're actually betting on the players. This isn't the first year it's happened, and it seems this is more of a worldwide thing. We learned in this episode that the games are held in different places, different years. Now, on to the next game, the glass bridge. Step on the wrong tile and you will die, period. The detective is still hiding, fights back, escapes, and learns where the front man is headed. They are directly connected to the game. They seem to be betting on the game. Every rich stereotype you could ever think of, that's them. Okay, they seem to be why the game was made. We don't know too much about that just yet. Not only does the game happen every single year, it seems to happen in different places every year. Juno escapes the island with 12% battery on his phone, which how you're surviving with 12% battery and you've been filming and recording all this whole entire time, beyond me, that it's not possible. And he is confronted by the front man. And to his surprise, to his utter shock, the front man is the missing brother he has been looking for this whole time. The front man shoots him in the shoulder, might I add. Why didn't you not just shoot him in the head at point blank range? I don't know. And we are left to believe that he fell in the ocean, drowned, and died. After the glass bridge, there's 3 finalists left. They eat a fancy final meal and are left with the sharpest knives I have ever seen in my life. Which, you know what that means, guys. Purge night is upon us. Player 67 is actually left with glass. She was impaled by glass when the glass bridge exploded. Oh, let's get into that, because that scene of the bridge exploding, she is bleeding out a lot. It's not looking so good for her. And you can see in this episode, she's actually like on the verge of dying. The childhood friend, he has to just end it quick. The fan favorite is now gone. With there only being 2 players left, the final game begins. After the glass game, player 218 kills her. The detective's missing brother was in the games. He won in 2015, and somehow, some way, he became the front man. He shoots the detective. So episode 9, the final episode, the final game, the final test. A brutal, muddy fight between player 456 and player 218, the childhood friends. Player 456 ends up winning, but he refuses to kill 218. 218 does it himself. He kills himself. And 456 returns home only to find out that his mother has passed away. Fast forward to 1 year later, he lives in terrible shape until he receives a mystery card. He goes to the building only to find out that player 1 is the mastermind of all of this. He is why the game exists. Player 1 ends up dying, and player 456, he's on a mission, what seems like to turn his life around, and he books a flight to LA. But just as he's about to board, he sees someone recruiting a new player. He's going back into the game. The game's not over though. It's only changed its players. Player 456 and player 218 play Squid Game. Player 456 wins at what cost? Il-nam is actually the mastermind of all of this. He is the mastermind, and we learned that he never died back in those episodes. He's about to get onto the plane to go see his daughter. He changed his hair. He's like living his best life. Like, he sees the recruiter recruiting people for the next game. We see player 456 calling the phone to register into the game, and that is where we're left off at the end of season 1. So let's pause here. Before Squid Games was a franchise, before the masks, before the theories, it was a story. A brutal one, yes, but honest. Season 1 felt like a scream for the director, who had waited a decade for someone to hear his story. Hwang Dong-hyuk's concept wasn't just a pitch. It was a reflection of South Korea's deepening wealth inequality, youth disillusionment, and his own economic desperation. It was rooted in lived experiences, and that authenticity gave the series weight. Seoul, Sao Paulo, or San Francisco. Viewers around the world felt seen. It took something innocent and made it lethal, just like how capitalism turned survival into a game. And the show's explosive popularity wasn't just a fluke or TikTok hype. It became Netflix's most watched show ever, over 2.2 billion hours viewed, but most importantly, it became a mirror. It's also worth remembering that Hwang wasn't made rich by the success. He was paid a flat fee up front and didn't own any rights to the IP. Netflix reportedly generated over $900 million based off of season 1 alone, and Hwang said he wasn't that rich afterwards. He returned for season 2 and 3, not just because he wanted to, but because he needed to secure better terms and reclaim the story that he created. And honestly, it's deeply ironic when you think about what the show is really about. So when we talk about whether Squid Games ruined or reinvented K-dramas, we have to start here, with the creator, the conditions, and the culture that birthed it. Because what came next wasn't just the next chapter of the story, it was a test. What happens when a deeply personal critique becomes a global brand? Three years have passed since the protagonist has left the games, and he has been searching for it ever since. 456 hires his old past loan sharks, we remember them, to find the game he has been looking for the past 2 years. And ta-da! Guess who's not dead? The detective. And the person that saved the detective has been helping him find the island ever since, which we'll come back to that. To sub it down, the Loan Shark Squad finds the recruiter. Obviously y'all know him, he loves his roulette games, so obviously not everybody came out at all. But essentially the detective finds out that the main character is also looking for the same island that he was in. He told his office about what he saw. During last season he was filming, taking pictures, but none of the pictures ever sent. So when he comes back home and he's like, hey, like this stuff is happening, it's crazy, they're like, we need evidence. We need evidence or it's not real, period. He got down promoted, I guess you could say. The recruiter finds the main character, and we find out kind of how he got into the job. But essentially we find out that he was actually a guard at first, and he got promoted swiftly and quickly to be a salesman. And he's the one that recruits the people into the games. The recruiter and the main character end up playing a round of roulette, a crazy round of roulette, mind you. And the recruiter ends up eliminated. Hello, welcome back to the madness that is Squid Game. So this is episode 1. These are our key players. So we got the recruiter. He was introduced season 1, but I decided to really give him his moment this season. Player 456, the detective, the VIPs obviously, the front man, and the guards. So this is kind of the main pool. The loan shark, directly correlated to Gi-hoon because that was his old debt collector. The right-hand man, which is the loan shark's right-hand man. The detective and the sailor. The sailor saved the detective when he got shot and fell in the water. Surprise, surprise, he never died. We were expecting that. So the recruiter used to be a guard, and the front man runs the guards. The front man caters to the VIPs. Player 456, Sung Gi-hoon. Reluctant hero complex. He just wants to save the people. He wants to stop the games. That's his whole reason of joining the games again. He's still driven by guilt and revenge, but is emotionally tethered to his daughter. He's in his Ellie mode, honestly. He wants to find the people who did this and stop them. For the people. For the people, our hearts and souls to the cause. He's more obsessive, more calculated. We get a snippet into his room. It's insane. The detective, Hwang Dong-hyuk. Are y'all looking at this picture? Are we looking at the same thing? He was demoted after no one believed him about his story that he told. Now the recruiter, his conversation with Gi-hoon gives us a lot of insight on the game itself, but his official name he's referred to as the salesman, but I'm going to be calling him the recruiter. So he was once a low-level guard, but then he was promoted to triangle mask, which equals gun privileges, from my understanding. His father had joined the games and he was the one that eliminated him. And after that, he was then promoted to salesman, and basically he recruits the next round of players. They were here last season, but we get a little bit more insight on them. Extreme hierarchy system, extreme, very extreme. We learned that the circle is the lowest level, the workers. They have no guns, they clean up the eliminated bodies. They're kind of just like the cleanup gang. The next level above that is the triangle masks, and that is the middle rank. They have guns and they're referred to as the soldiers. The highest rank is the square mask, and they're referred to as the managers, and they command all of them. At the end of this episode, the recruiter dies and the loan shark. So the main character and the detective finally meet and exchange info. The main character is trying to find out who started these games. He's gunning for him, okay? But the detective, he doesn't tell him that the front man is actually his brother. So they all work together, for lack of better words. A new character is introduced. At first I'll call her the bunny. She has a name, but the bunny left her daughter in North Korea. We don't really know too much about that just yet, but yes, she's trying to find her daughter. She gets an invitation to the game. So back with the detective, we learn more about the front man. His wife died years ago, and we learn that they're actually stepbrothers, not real brothers. And he accepted a bribe for something that had consequences. We don't know what that's for. Maybe that's related to the wife's death, or maybe that's related to him joining, like being the front man of the game. But back to the main character, they're recruiting a team to infiltrate the game. Last season we ended with him almost getting on the plane to go see his daughter. He didn't end up getting on the plane, and from what I assumed, he hasn't had any contact with her for the past 2 years. So he calls her and he doesn't say anything to her. In that moment, you can kind of see he's kind of debating, like, is this gonna be worth it? The main character is put into a limo, which, funnily enough, is the same limo he got in when he won the game. The front man basically knows that, like, he's coming back to join, to start trouble. They actually have a conversation, and I think this seems kind of funny because he's literally talking to a piggy bank, and the front man has been sitting in the front the whole time. Right now, the main character is going to the game. We also learned a little bit more about the game, just a little bit. Front man said the game will not end unless the world changes. And it's kind of giving Kira a death note, okay? It's kind of giving that God complex of eliminate the bad to make way for the good. It's kind of giving cleanse the world. And we also see that the bunny is getting into these massive semi-trucks, which is not how the pickup usually goes when you go into the game. And come to find out, Miss Girl's not entering the game. She is a part of the game. She is the guard. I'm gonna start calling her Guard 11. The main introduction is Guard 11. She is the guard. We learn a little bit more about the right-hand man. Player 456, the right-hand man, and the detective all decide to work together to try to find this island. He was close with Mr. Kim, which was the loan shark, and he wants to avenge his boss. And he is referred to as Captain Park, but I'm gonna be calling him the sailor. He saved the detective when the detective got shot in season 1. Him and the detective have been searching for the island for the past 2 years. My main important question that everybody should be asking is, why was he near the island in the first place? If the island is so in the middle of nowhere, you have to know where you're going to get there. So what were you doing by the island anyways? We also learned some new info about the game. Cleanse the world of poor people and the people undead. That's kind of what it's starting to feel like. The game will not end unless the world changes. Changes how? What does this mean? We don't really know yet. But there was a new rule added, and it's no longer winner takes all. After every game, they will vote to leave. After every single game. And whatever money is left in the prize pot will be divided among all of them. I've played these games before! Bang, bang, bang. The main character has now been kidnapped and he is now in the games. The scene opens with him waking up in those musty, crusty, dusty beds. The front man added a new option where they can vote to leave after every single game. After every game, they vote to end the game or not. And what will happen is whatever prize money is left, they're all just gonna split it amongst themselves. Essentially, I feel like the frontman was really just rubbing in player 456's face that, hey, you keep talking about how blah, 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 how they were stuck here. I'm giving them the option to leave after every single game. And I'm even letting them have the money. So yeah, there's no more winner takes all introduced with a plethora of characters. I'm not gonna get into all the characters just yet. In all of these new characters, we learn player 39D, which is, ironically enough, Gi-hoon's best friend. Hey, his wife divorced him, took the children, he's broke, he has debt. We are also introduced to a new character, a black square mask. We won't talk about him now, we'll talk about him later. In this episode, player 456 is trying to warn people that this game is not all that it seems. Like, it's not just some silly childhood game. People are going to lose their life for real. As the episode is ending, as they're playing red light, green light, the gates are literally closing, and y'all can, it's actually a really cool scene, but you can see the gates closing, the sky going away, and the darkness just, the shadow darkening their faces is kind of what is next to come. They vote to continue to play or end the games, where the tags set to separate the groups. If you vote to end the games, you get an X. If you vote to keep the games, you get an O, and you keep those on all day long. It's a tie until player 001 breaks it. The vote is broken to keep playing. And surprise, surprise, not really a surprise, it's the front man. Player 001 is the front man, so of course they're gonna keep playing. Moving on, same episode, different plot line. With the detective squad, so as I said, he was taken, they were following him. They're using the sailor that found the detective. So they're gonna be using his boat to look for the island. Before player 456 got into the game, they put a tracker in his molar. They took out his tooth, stuck a tracker in a fake molar and put it back in so they can find him and save him. The front man took out the tracker, and I saw he took out his tooth, he was gagged. And they stuck the tracker in another fisher's boat. And so they're following this boat thinking that that's player 456, but in reality that was just some random person, and they're now at some random island. A lot's happening, is it not? A lot is going on. A lot is going on. The front man is no longer the front man. The assistant front man, question mark, he is taking over for the front man. Player 390, he is Gi-hoon's best friend. He is player 456's bestie, okay? He's in the game for the same reason that Gi-hoon first joined. We also updated the front man. He's no longer the front man. He is now player 1, also known as Young-il. It means 001, literally. Now, season 1's player 1, he joins simply to have fun. The frontman is joining purely to spite, manipulate, deceive player 456. That's it. But from what I'm assuming, he's here to learn the motives of player 456. His wife died some years ago, and it may or may not be connected to a bribe he took. I don't really know too much about that. The front man, and we're actually going to change his name. He is now going to be referred to as player 1. He is teasing player 456 and asking him, hey, what's the next game? You keep talking about how you were like in this before, so what's the next game? Knowing full and well that whatever game he says, they're not gonna do. Player 1 explains his backstory to player 456. He's explaining it in present tense like it's happening now, but it has already happened. So game 2 arrives and it's a completely different game. And honestly, the irony. It's a team game where they're racing the clock, and they play a collection of children's games. Six-legged race, dakji, flying stone, gongi, spinning tap, and jegi. So from my understanding of Korean culture, the girls grow up with playing certain games and the boys grow up with playing certain games. So that's kind of a combination of all the games. So next with the guards. Episode opens with coffin with the blood cross. The blood cross essentially means that this coffin can be harvested. It seems that living people are needed to fulfill the OHR requirements. Guard 11 has been making straight headshots. She does not like what's going on for real. And we also learn more about the Black Mask. We learn his name. His name is the officer. He seems to be the head of the OHR expedition. We learn that Guard 11 and the officer met 7 years ago. She escaped North Korea all by herself. So the officer gave her a job because he saw that she was actually really good with a sniper. And I'm already suspicious about the sailor because why were you over there anyways? What were you doing by that island? A plethora of characters, and not everyone's gonna have their own little profile because some of them don't really have anything much going on, not yet. I was really gonna put like all the players in here, but then I had to like think about how crazy this board would look. We're kind of adding the main players. The player 246, he was a painter at the amusement park Guard 11 worked at. His child likes her. His daughter has cancer, so he needs money. She knows him. He does not know her. She's been watching out for him. We don't know much about player 120 yet, but she has joined the game. Player 07 and player 49, son and mom and son. They're together and they both joined the game. He joined the game to pay off his debts, and she joined the game to pay off his debts. Stay with me. Player 388, the ex-marine, the big softy, he joined the game for reasons unknown. We don't know that yet. Player 388, player 390, and player 456 joined an alliance. She joined the game. She joined the game because she's about to have his child and she needs to pay off debts from a crypto fail. She needs money to support the baby. Now, player 333 is player 222's baby daddy. I don't like this man, but he's joining to pay off his crypto debts. We don't like him. We don't like him at all. But also I find it ironic that her player name is 222 and his is 333. We learn a little bit more about Guard 11, and she's essentially another point of view in this series. She's homeless. She's a North Korea defector. She's trying to find her daughter that is still in North Korea. The officer is helping her. She's a soldier. She's a triangle mask. We also learn a bit more about the officer. He basically leads the troops. He takes over for the front man. He is the head honcho of the OHR ring. Him and guard 11 met 7 years ago. He saw that she was good with the sniper. He recruited her to join the games. Player 222, Kim Junhee. She is due in a few days. Not good. Not good at all. But she's here to pay off the debts due to a crypto fail. She needs money for her baby, and the baby daddy is player 333. Boo! You stink! That's kind of what it's giving. A lot of the main reasons why we see a lot of young generation players is because they have invested in crypto. And he is the reason that majority of the young players are here, because his crypto scheme, I don't know, whatever, it failed, and they're trying to give him a redemption arc. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. She's mother for real. She's mother for real. But basically, she's here to pay off her son's debts. She's also kind of the mother of kind of this ragtag team of main characters. She's kind of that shoulder to cry on, that shoulder to lean on. She's here for her son, but yes, she's here for you if you need her. All the main teams finish. We have lots of player 1 pretending to be frustrated, acting like his life is on the line. It is not. And we learn a lot more about the characters and more about the alliances formed. The players also vote to play one more game. Little do they know. The next game introduced is called Mingle. Find a team or you're eliminated. Guard 11 ends up being harassed because she's messing with the OHR ex-adventure. Like I said, they don't like that, so they threaten her. And back with a detective, the gang is recruiting more people, and they have another boat, another sailor, and they are still searching for the island. Not much going on pertaining to plot points, but we learn a few things. She is trying to disrupt the OHR. She does not like it. She's not really for it. He leads the OHR. They're afraid. Our first trans representation. We love a queen. She's a trans woman here to earn money to finish her surgery and move to Thailand. She was a sergeant in the special forces. Player 388, I also like him too. A lot of these characters are likable. He's ex-military. He has lots of sisters. The girls grow up learning one game and the boys grow up learning a certain type of game. So he's really good at the girl games. I think he was in the military. Something may have happened in the past, which causes him to kind of retract. Announcer calls out a number of the amount of players are needed. You find that people, you get in a room. There's not enough rooms for everybody, so a lot of people are out of there. And when you go into a room, you have to have the correct number of people or everybody's out of there. Player 390 starts noticing that player 1 is very strange. They go into a room, there's somebody already in there, so player 1 swiftly eliminates him. After the game ends, they vote once again, and it's actually a 50-50 split. So that means no more playing the games until the next voting session, which means Purge Night is upon us. And to everybody's not surprise, they're given forks this episode while they're eating. Back with the guards. Guard 11 is no longer interfering with the OHR for the detective squad. Find a secret hatch, but it was a fake hatch. It was a booby trap. That means they're getting close because you wouldn't just booby trap areas unless you know for sure that someone will be looking for you. You see what I mean? Okay, I don't know what episode this is, but nothing changes. With the players, Purge Night is upon us. Essentially, they're going to keep going at each other until they break the tie in their favor. Bedtime's in 30 minutes, right? Player 456 comes up with this foolproof plan in less than 30 minutes. If we can get to the Black Mask, the leader of all of this, we win the game. Frontman, he's been with you. What do you mean? When the lights are out, all the main characters are gonna hide under their beds, they're gonna play dead, and they're gonna ambush the guards. They're gonna take their guns and destroy the higher-ups. So that was kind of his foolproof, loosely put together, but with a lot of detail and less than 30-minute plan. But the gag is he didn't tell the rest of the exes, so they are going to sacrifice some people, their hearts and souls to the cause. That's kind of what it was giving. Purge Night, the guards let everything happen, but then at a certain time, they make the guards stop it because you don't want to lose too many players or else y'all won't have a game. So basically, the main character squad, they end up taking the guns. Everything is going pretty smoothly. We meet the Square Mask, which is the the leader of all the guards. Surprise, surprise, he too is just a kid. Also learned that player 120 was a sergeant in the special forces. We also learned a bit about player 388. People were saying that he lied about being in the Marines. I don't think so. From my loose understanding, all men in Korea have to join the forces and have to serve 2 years in the military. Every male has to join the military unless it's a special case. My hypothesis with him is that he was actually in the military and he did train, he did go through the process, but I think something may have happened which may have caused PTSD. When he hears the shots, he kind of just freezes. Square Mask is telling them where to go because they've kept one person alive. There's like an all-out war between the players and the guards. Now, like I said, they're staging a coup d'etat. He locks eyes with the front man, player 1. The fear I see in this man's eyes, the fear. And they end up running out of ammo, so 388 volunteers to go get the ammo, but he never makes it back to the team. So they all run out of ammo and the coup d'etat fails. We also learned that the special area where they're coordinating the whole game is called the management area. Player 456 makes it to the management area and he tells player 1. Player 1's not happy about that. So he tunes into another channel. It's like, get them out of there for real. Player 1 makes the switcheroo and he now once again turns into the front man. It's player 456, player 390, and the front man. The final ending scene to the players' plot lines. The front man and player 456 meet. The front man looks that man in his eyes and he says, this is the consequences to your actions. And he eliminates player 390. His best friend is gone. Back with the guards, obviously the OHR, it's in full swing. To get the goods to the place where they have to get it to, they have to deliver it to a boat. They have to swim underwater to reach the boat. So my hypothesis is that Sailor, he is the one that delivers the stuff to wherever. Guard 11 pretends to kill player 246. And I say pretends because notice how this entire season she's been making nothing but headshots, but all of a sudden she shoots him in the stomach. So yeah, I think she's keeping him alive. We don't really know why for. So yeah, back with the detective gang. We find out the Sailor is destroying the drone they got, the brand new drone they got, and the Sailor ends up killing a member. But yeah, essentially that is where we're left for season 2. I'm gonna watch season 3 today. So excited. Let's really figure out what happens after. Of course, it wouldn't be Squid Game if people were not getting eliminated. Frontman is the frontman again, and he ends up eliminating player 390. Player 246 is also shot by guard 11. So yeah, that's kind of the plot points for now. At least season 2 and season 3 go hand in hand. A lot of season 2 was just kind of setting up the story arc. Season 2 was divisive. Some said it lost its emotional intimacy of season 1. Others praised its expanded lore and moral complexity. But the truth is, season 2 had no choice but to evolve. Where season 1 was all about desperation, season 2 was about consequence. It pulled back the curtain, not just on the games, but the people who keep them running. It reflected a global shift too. After Squid Game exploded, so did interest in Korean media. Netflix tripled down on K-content. They greenlit more ambitious projects. We got Hellbound, All of Us Are Dead, and Money Heist Korea, which itself was only possible because of Squid Game's success. But here's where it gets complicated. With success comes risk. And season 2 is where the franchise had to ask itself, are we telling a story or selling a product? That tension shows. The world expands, but so do the stakes of the show existing at all. Can it stay critical of capitalism when it's become a 900 million intellectual property? Can it remain a K-drama when it's now a global brand, expanded to perform like a Marvel phase? Season 2 didn't answer all those questions, but it raised them, and that might be enough. With that being said, let's get into the season 3, the final season of Squid Games. Oh guys, let me tell you, I stayed up all night just to wait for this to come out. Gagging. This show had me gagging. This show had me crying. So Gi-hoon is back after his coup d'etat, his failed coup d'etat. I was expecting them to kill him off. They did not. They really want this man to suffer for real. They brought him back in a coffin, back into the player room. He's not doing too good. All the players that were joined in the coup d'etat, they kind of apologized to him. They were like, we tried our best. I'm sorry that you lost your friends and all of that. And word gets around that player 388 was sent back to get the ammo, but he never came back to it. So you can see this moment, Gi-hoon is like eyeing him down. He's like, oh, A new game is introduced, hide and seek. The players are separated into red and blue. The blue players are given keys to open different doors to escape, or they can hide. And the red players, to my moral surprise, the red players, they have to kill a blue player or they be killed. Let's get into some of our key characters. So player 246, he was shot. Guard 11 shot him. She pretended to go along with organ harvesting ring. She made a doctor player save him and she shot him in cold blood. Okay, my girl is a cold-blooded killer, okay? She said, you're gonna do what I say. You're not gonna even survive. We have player 125. He was introduced last season, but he didn't really have a pivotal moment. He wasn't really that important last season, but something I learned about this player is so he's kind of there to like at that, I guess that doorway in to like, hey, what would you do if you were doing this? A lot of y'all want to like act tough. Y'all say he's a scaredy cat and all that, but honestly, if I was in that game, I would be acting pretty similar to him. He doesn't look like he belongs there. I mean, nobody does. You can see the players kind of evolve more violence as the violence occurs. He still has some part of humanity in him and he's still like, are y'all getting what I'm saying? He's meant to reflect the viewer. I'm hesitant, peer pressured, and unsure of himself, the situation, of what he's doing. Welcome to the series finale. This is Squid Game Season 3, our last board. This is where we left off at Season 2, and this is where we're gonna start for Season 3. So I added a few more characters that aren't necessarily, they weren't important in Season 2. They're really not that important in Season 3, but I think it's better to just add them and take them off as we go. Player 124, he was a friend. He was in the Thanos gang. Player 380 took a liking to player 125. Player 125, player 124, and player 380 were all a part of the Thanos gang. I'm not gonna include Thanos, sorry. Player 380 got eliminated last season, but I think she's important to how player 125 acts this season. Player 124, player 333, and player 456 are all red, so they all have to find someone to kill. Player 388, player 149, player 222, and player 120 are all blue players, so they're trying to hide and escape from the red players. So essentially, this is probably the saddest scene. I was so upset. Like, I knew they were all going to be eliminated at the end. I was just not expecting it to happen so quick. So player 333 and player 124 are deciding to work together, for lack of better words. Player 333 promised player 222 that, hey, like, once I find my player, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna protect you. Little does she know. Player 333 and player 124, they go together and they find people to kill, and the gets the amazing idea to just start killing everybody. Every blue player they see, they're taking them out. Stupid, I know, right? Pretty dumb, yeah. Player 222 ends up going into labor. She actually fractures her ankle, which is really bad. And I feel like the stress of the situation may have sent her into labor. They said she was already due pretty soon, but I think that was probably the needle in the haystack, okay? But yeah, she ends up giving birth right there in hide and seek. Player 333 ends up killing player 120. Okay, at the end. This scene is kind of just like, player 120 had found the exit for they can escape, and she decided to come back and tell player 149 and player 222 that, hey, like, I found the exit, like, we can leave. And right then she gets stabbed and she dies immediately. That was so sad. I couldn't even believe it.
What is this? What is this?
Gi-hoon ends up killing player 388. We'll find out that player 388 actually lied about everything. I had the idea that, hey, maybe he didn't lie about everything, but yeah. We found out he lied about everything. He was never in the Marines. He was never in the military. Everything he said, everything that came out of his mouth was a lie. He grew up with a bunch of sisters, and I'm guessing he didn't really get to spend much time with men, and maybe he just wanted to do something prideful so he can fit in more with the men. He also got a fake tattoo. It's all fake. All of it is fake. Player 222 and player 149, they end up finding the exit thanks to player 120. Just as they're about to leave, player 007, he's on the red team, by the way, he comes back to his mother and he's like, I didn't find anyone to kill. Like, I need to kill someone or I'm gonna die. And he's going to go stab the baby. And this scene, I couldn't even believe it. As he's going to stab the baby, player 149, his mother, ends up killing him. Guard 11 makes player 246 turn into a guard. So he's now guard 16. They're trying to leave the island together, but she's trying to get him out of here for real. Player 333 Player 3 eliminates player 120. Player 149 ends up killing her own son, player 7. And Gi-hoon, on his revenge quest, ends up getting rid of player 388. Player 222 ends up having her baby. After the hide and seek game, the players vote to continue the game once again. Now, mind you, they keep saying one more game, one more game. They're not gonna stop. This whole entire time, Gi-hoon has kind of been in this kind of haze, this daze. He has a lot going on, but player 149, she kind of sits down and talks to him about how life isn't fair. I actually really liked her speech. Bad people do bad things and they blame it on other people. Good people shoulder the burden of the things that bad people do. You may have not saved everyone in the way you thought you would, but you still have someone to save. Like, I still believe you can save us. Can you please help player 222 and her newborn baby, please? So after that speech, Gi-hoon is kind of determined to like save at least one person. Player 149 ends up what is this? I can't catch a break with this show. I can't catch a break. It's not looking too good. It's not looking too good. It's not looking too good. This is only episode 3. I knew they were all gonna go, but with the swiftness, the director quickly cut all of them out. Episode 1 and 2, all of them are gone. Now the next game is jump rope. All the games so far have been pretty tame. I was kind of waiting for like something crazy, like artistically crazy. This one did it, because what is this? This is cruel and unusual punishment. This is something different. It's jump rope. You have to cross a bridge. There's a hole in the bridge and you have to jump rope. As I said, player 222 fractured her ankle, so she's not gonna make it too far. And yeah, the VIPs, apparently they're like head honchos. The front man does whatever the VIPs want them to do. The VIPs ended up making player 222's baby a player. Player 125, player 124, player 380, and Thanos, they were all in this like gang together, but now there's only player 125 and player 124. Player 124 is and he has been taking Thanos's, like, I don't know what kind of pills those are. I know those are just Smarties. Player 125 ended up taking a pill. Player 380 in the last season was like, hey, like, you don't want to take that, like, that's not a pretty thing. And he ends up taking a pill and he becomes dependent on the pills, right? Player 124 has been taking the pills, so he's kind of going through withdrawals. You can kind of see him turning into the loser he is. Player 125 is like, hey, you were looking for these pills, right? He threw them out onto the bridge and was like, you want them? Go get him. So player 124 is scrambling, thinking he about to have the best release of his life. He gets the pills while he's jump roping, by the way. While he's jump roping, he opens the pills. There's nothing in there. There's nothing in there. He has been tricked. And he is swiftly eliminated. Gi-hoon ends up jump roping with the baby, which is, they added a new camera angle. The cameras that attach to the body. I like the filming direction. It was actually pretty cool. But you can see he's over here tripping, he's falling and stuff. And I was getting nervous, but he ends up jump roping with the baby and he makes it across. Like I said, this is cruel and unusual punishments. So guard 11 is given a key to the boat. She asked the officer, hey, I want to leave. So you're gonna assign me, player 246, which is disguised as the guard. You're gonna assign me and him to the border. You're gonna give us a boat. You're gonna give us a key and we're gonna leave. We're gonna head out here. So the detective subplot. So basically the right-hand man breaks into the sailor's house and he finds photos connecting the recruiter, the sailor, and the front man all together. He gets attacked by a dog and taken to jail, essentially. And the sailor is also revealed to be an ex-guard. He was an ex-guard. He was a square mask, a manager. And now I think he just patrols the area to make sure nobody's coming too close to the island where the games are being held. Player 149 decides to eliminate herself, I assume because of what she did to her son. Player 124 is eliminated in that jump rope scene. Crazy. He was tricked by player 125. The right-hand man, he's sent to jail after warning the detective that the sailor is coming after him because the sailor is friends with the front man, and the sailor is friends with the recruiter. The sailor is also directly in the game because he used to be a guard. Player 333, this whole time, y'all know that that is her baby daddy. Like, he's really selfish. We'll get into him later. Actually, we won't get into him later because he gets my nerves and I don't even want to talk about him for real. Gi-hoon, before he went to go jump rope, he was like, I promise Ji-hoon, I will come back and I will save you. Like, I will get you. I will save you. As Gi-hoon is about to jump rope back across to go get her, she says, stop. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. She said, protect my baby. She steps off the platform and she falls to her death. And player 222 is no longer here with us.
Oh my gosh. 222 dies.
This is not okay.
They really got a shot of her. Y'all are so wrong of putting a shot of her at the end. Y'all are so wrong. If this child dies, I don't know what I'm going to do.
So after that jump roping fiasco, there's 8 players remaining, but they decide to make the baby a player. So there's now 9 players remaining, which means if they were to stop the game, the money gets divided 9 ways. The baby gets money too, okay? Everybody's rich around here. They're gonna vote to either continue the game or stop the game. And before they vote, the guards actually decide to give them a hint on what the next game will be. And what they tell them is that the players must choose 3 players to eliminate. So the players are thinking, hey, we just need to choose 3 players to eliminate. Easy, simple, we'll get all the money, blah, 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 blah. And player 333, you know, and votes to keep playing the game. Boo, you stink. Boo, you stink. That's all I gotta say. Boo, you stink.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Everybody decides to keep on playing because eliminating 3 players is easy. So just as the final meal is ending and just as everybody's going to sleep, the front man calls player 456 up and he gives them a proposition to save the baby. The proposition is take this knife and kill everybody because the game cannot be played with just 2 players. You and the baby can make it out here alive. Front man takes off his mask and Gi-hoon realizes it's actually player 001 and he is livid. We also learn some things about kind of their conversation because Gi-hoon is trying to kill him. We learn that the front man is easily replaceable. He says, kill me if you want, they're just gonna replace me. We're also learning he does not make the rules, so he's not really head honcho around here, and I'm guessing the VIPs do. Guard 11 is gonna go sneak up to the officer. But as I said, they're driving away from the island, and the manager's like, hey, I know what you're doing, and blah blah blah, player 246 has a child in the hospital right now. They go back to the island, and they're trying to trick him. Player 246 is gonna speed off into the distance, okay, and get away from there as fast as possible. But little do they know, there's actually a tracker on the boat, so he's not gonna make it very far. Captain Park, the sailor, is exposed. They were given an order that if anything goes wrong, kill everybody. He kills everybody on the boats except for the detective because the detective was hiding away and the detective ends up killing the sailor. We learn a little bit about why the sailor saved him. When the front man shot the detective, obviously that's his brother, that's his man. So he told the sailor, save him and keep him alive no matter what you gotta do. So yeah, we learned that that was an order given to the sailor by the front man, so that is why the sailor saved him. Gi-hoon takes the knife that the front man gave him and he's planning to go kill everybody. And we're flashback to season 1 where Sevok was like, this is not the kind of person you are. And we get a flashback from the front man to where he played the game actually. And Ilnam 001 and season 1 also gave the front man the same proposition to kill everyone so he can be the sole winner of the game, and that's how he won. The front man killed everyone and won, and this scene is really scary because it shows what the human mind is kind of capable of when you're in desperate times. Player 222 is eliminated, and she asks Gi-hoon to take care of her baby. They also put the baby in the game, so now she's referred to as baby 222. The sailor figures out that the right-hand man told on him. The detective ends up eliminating the sailor. Yes, we find out that he was asked to save the detective by the front man, no matter the cost. So the final game begins. They have to go up to 3 different platforms. There's a circle, a square, and a triangle. And on each platform, you have to push off at least 1 person to move on to the next platform. When you get to the final platform, you win when you push off 3 people. They worded this very specifically. They said you have to push them off alive within the time limit. There's a button on the floor you have to press before you decide who to push off. It's honestly really ironic. It's meant to be democratic, which is crazy because why are we acting like we're civilized human beings when y'all are not? All of a sudden, y'all want to be democratic. It doesn't make any sense. It's just really ironic considering what you have done thus far. Player 125, as you can see, he took his last pill, so he's kind of tripping for real. He's going through withdrawals, he's kind of going crazy. And player 380, which was his friend, they didn't really like get into their friendship for real, but they were friends, and the kindness 380 showed him, I guess, really stuck with him. I myself don't really understand that part. 125 ends up getting pushed off the platform. This entire time he's hallucinating and he thinks that player 380 is beckoning him to the other side. 125 ends up getting eliminated. So while they're trying to threaten Gi-hoon to push him off the platform, they're trying to throw the baby off the platform, sorry. And they're over here arguing, they're like, we're human too. I know how you feel. I have a daughter too. We're human. Once again, ironic considering what you have gone through, what you have done thus far. And just as they're about to push off, Gi-hoon and the baby, player 333 is like, hey, that's my child, and you're not gonna kill my child in front of me. That's not gonna happen. Little do y'all know, that sparks a brawl, and an all-out brawl happens, and everybody dies. Okay, guard 11. So basically she sneaks back into the building and she tries to negotiate with the officer to delete all the files they have on player 246. We learn that everything about a player is online and there's also a hard copy in the archives, which the detective went to go see in season 1. We also get a glimpse into why the manager perhaps may have started the whole organ harvesting thing. He lost someone close because he couldn't find a kidney donor, and I believe that is why he started this whole organ harvesting fiasco. We also learn a little bit more about guard 11. We learn that she left her child behind in North Korea and she wants player 246 to go be with his child because, you know, she doesn't want the same thing to happen. We don't really ever get into why she's so fascinated by him and his daughter's relationship, but I'm gonna assume that how she feels about her daughter. She just wants everybody to cherish the time they have with their children. She kills the manager, and back with the detective, they are so close to finding the island, and the frontman calls him and tells him, stop looking into the game or he will die. I honestly think that's a really particular way to word it. He didn't say, stop looking for the game or I will kill you. He said, stop looking for the game or you will die. Because of that specific way of saying it, really just drives into the point that he is not the one calling the shots. The detective ends up finding player 246 on his little boat, and they stitch him up and help him out, and they call the Coast Guard. Episode 5, the final game. Player 125 is eliminated. Guard 11 and the officer go at it. He dies. And the detective is on his way to find his brother. They had an all-out brawl on the second platform and they ended up killing everybody. So when they move on to the last and final platform, it's only just the 3 of them. The baby, Gi-hoon, and player 333. And somebody has to go or the game is not ending. Gi-hoon is like, well, I'm not about to die because who's going to protect this baby? It's not going to be you. So player 333 is so selfish. At the end, he threatens to throw off his own child off the platform, but he can't really do it. He's saying, I'll throw this baby off. I'll throw it off. I honestly think he would have if he really committed to the idea. Because of that moment of hesitation, Gi-hoon ends up taking the upper hand and it's like, that's not happening. And player 333 dies because he fell off the edge. Like I said, and he had no redeeming qualities. There was no redemption arc. He was just an evil, selfish human being. So Gi-hoon's getting up like, oh, like me and the baby won. The button to start the game was not pressed. You have to press a button before you throw someone off or it does not count. So Gi-hoon makes this decision. 456 ends up sacrificing himself for the baby, and I was so upset. Let me tell you, I was so upset at the scene. Dang, they really said no mercy. 456 sacrifices himself, and before he goes, he says his last words. We are not horses. We are humans. Humans are. That's kind of just a throwback to season 1 and 2 of how the VIPs bet on these human people like they are horses. And it was a pretty sad scene, guys. It was a pretty sad scene.
Oh my god! Everybody died! What? What is this? What is... What?
I knew they were all going to be eliminated, but I wasn't expecting it. Gi-hoon has sacrificed himself, and that makes player 222's baby the sole survivor and the winner of the game. So back with guard 11, all the players have a online version and a hard copy of themselves, and all the guards have a folder of everything about them. So she's reading the archives she found about herself, and they essentially have like her whole life story of like what she does, how she lives, and she ends up finding out that the baby, the child that she has been looking for the past who knows how many years, has been declared dead. She has no more family left. Her husband was executed, and she has no more family left. She has no reason to live. Guard 11 was watching the game play out the entire time. She's just about to, you know, just as she sees player 456 sacrificing himself to keep the child alive, she decides not to go through with, and she decides to live. So back with the detective, the Coast Guard is coming, so the game creators decide to evacuate the whole building after the game ended. The detective finds the island, and he ends up finding his brother, and can't really say anything. He's in shock. So 6 months later, player 246 is back at the amusement park painting, and he's actually painting guard 11. He does not know that she is the guard that saved him. So yeah, they officially meet the last episode of the series. She looks happy to see that him and his kid are healthy and happy, and she gets a call from her old PI, the old PI that was looking for her daughter, and we find out that her daughter is not actually dead. She's just in China. Guard 11's like, okay, well, I'm about to go see my kid. On the flip side, season 1, player 67, the whole reason why she was playing is so she can get enough money to get her family back together. They were looking for her mom, so her mom and her brother can meet. Her little brother ends up meeting her mom again, and that's kind of like a happy ending. She did not die in vain. Gi-hoon, before he went into the games, got in contact with player 67's old PI to find her mom, so that her mom and her brother can have a reunion. The PI ends up doing it. The brother and the mom end up meeting again. It's actually kind of sweet. The right-hand man ended up going to jail, but in this episode, he's out of jail. Him and the detective end up meeting up, and as they meet up, they notice that all the money they had, Gi-hoon had, is gone, and they're thinking that Gi-hoon ended up just taking it. Little do they know, Gi-hoon is not coming back. The front man, I guess he's tying up the loose ends. The front man gives the detective, gives his brother the baby and all the money that the baby won. In the US, the front man is traveling to Los Angeles, California. That is where Gi-hoon was going to go see his daughter, and he never ended up making it. So In-ho visits Gi-hoon's daughter to tell him that he has passed. He gives her Gi-hoon's old uniform and the remaining money that he had left. In the United States, in Los Angeles, we see another round of dakji happening, which means that the cycle is still going, just in another place. We're also left to assume that this is going to open up different spin-offs of the Squid Game. So expect Squid Game America, Squid Game Mexico, Squid Game Italia, Squid Game all over the world. But a lot of people were talking about how we don't play dakji in America. We don't play dakji. We don't know that game. That's only a Korean game. Be quiet. Y'all are missing the point. The whole point of the Americans playing dakji is just to show that the cycle is still going. It's just a callback to the first time Gi-hoon got into the game. That last scene shows that the cycle will never be broken. And that is the end of the Squid Game series. 456 sacrifices himself for the baby, and his final words are, "We are not horses. We are humans." Baby 222 makes her the winner. She is given to the detective for him to take care of her, and the detective, from his brother, the brother gives the detective the baby and all the baby's money. We also learn that guard 11's daughter is actually alive in China, so that is where she's going to go see her. And that is kind of the sum up of the series. But yeah, that is our little pyramid, our little detective board after 3 seasons. We weren't answered anything. We were not given closure. We were not given answers. So it's starting to make my board feel a little useless, but I'm still gonna put it in there because I worked hard on this board. Well, let's go back. What solved? All of this, even just the main plot points, we're not given any answers. And I think it's just supposed to show that you can't ever really figure out who was behind it all. Yeah, that was kind of my little detective scheme board that didn't really work out because we weren't really given answers and nothing was really solved and we didn't really have any closure. But yeah, that was my detective board. Maybe I'll do it again. Maybe I won't. Bing. By season 3, Squid Game had fully become a universe. Expanded stakes, bigger budgets, global characters, but also less room to breathe. It's the cost of evolution. What began as a tight character study became a sprawling dystopian epic. Was it entertaining? Sure. But was it still Squid Game? That's where the divide happens. In many ways, season 3 answered the thesis of the show within the show. Can the system be beaten, or does it always reabsorb those who resist it? Gi-hoon's journey from broken man to revolutionary to once again the pawn reflects that cycle, and so does the series itself. Squid Game wanted to stay radical, but it also had to be sustainable. Netflix built a franchise, not just a finale. So the social critique, once sharp and local, became blurred by global expectations. This isn't inherently bad, it's the cost of becoming a landmark, but it's still something to acknowledge. Still, even in its third act, Squid Game remains uniquely Korean in its moral dilemmas. Unlike Western dystopias, which often fall into rebellion or resolution, Squid Game stays gray. The ambiguity is frustrating, but it's also honest. And yet, for all its twists, spectacle, and layer metaphors, Squid Game season 3 ends not with answers, but with recursion that might not satisfy everyone, but it does something rare in TV. It holds up a mirror to us. So these are kind of my final thoughts of the series in itself. How do you even end something like Squid Game? Honestly, I thought the ending was brilliant. Personally, I liked it a lot. Not because it gave closure, but because it refused to. The final moments don't answer the biggest question. Why was this all created? And that silence is intentional. Instead of solving the puzzle, the show turns the camera back on us. Because we were never meant to find an answer. We were meant to recognize the question in ourselves. That ambiguous ending, it's not a narrative flaw, it's a moral one. And just like the characters, we're left to wrestle with meaning in a world that doesn't offer any. When the series ended, I was trying to figure out the best way to describe how I was feeling, and I remember one other show has made me feel like this. The ending reminded me of how I felt when Attack on Titan ended. Exposed, hollowed out, we're not handed a resolution, we're given a recursion. What could be more honest than that? Even after 3 seasons, Squid Game doesn't give us a revolution. It gives us the system, breaking and rebuilding itself. Players return, guards switch sides, VIPs rotate, and through it all, the machine keeps turning. Because beyond a critique of capitalism, Squid Game quietly layers in a tapestry of other brutal truths. Human nature under pressure. The games force characters to choose between morality and survival. What lines will you cross when there's no other option? Desperation and social isolation. These weren't just poor people. These were abandoned people, cut off from their family, ignored by institutions, buried in debt. The show doesn't just show poverty, it shows loneliness and a structural condition. Spectacle and voyeurism. The VIPs watching for fun? That's us. We binge trauma, we binge reality shows, we meme death, we turn pain into content. The show critiques the exact mechanism that made it go viral. Debt in the show isn't just financial lacking, it's spiritual, emotional, existential. Every player is shackled by guilt, obligation, or despair. The game just gives those chains a visible form. Class division and social hierarchy. Even inside the game, the system replicates. Guards have rules, VIPs wear masks, players are stripped of their names, free will versus systematic control. Yes, the players choose to return. Yes, the players choose to vote. But when every door is locked except one, is there really a choice? Squid Game is brutally honest about what it means to have agency. Gi-hoon, our red-haired revolutionary, isn't just a protagonist. He becomes the personification of resistance itself. He chooses to walk away from safety and tries to fight back. But what happens? He loses everything. Because Squid Game doesn't just explore resistance, it interrogates its limits. One man can't change the system. A few rebels can't undo the rules. And yet, the show never tells us how many does it take for something to change. How many lives does it cost to bend the arc of a broken world? When you finally meet the people who run the system, what do you become? Because that's the bitter truth Squid Game lands on. The system can be disrupted, but it's designed to reabsorb even those who resist it. Fighters become pawns, radicals become recruiters, and Gi-hoon ends up becoming trapped again. And that's why the finale hits differently. The games aren't over, they're just expanding. We're left to believe that Squid Game USA is next. And what started as a brutal, ironic mirror is now becoming a product of the system it was critiquing. The satire is being franchised, the rebellion is being marketed, the mirror isn't reflecting anymore, just is the system. It's not just a show about capitalism anymore. It's Netflix's most profitable IP. It's a cash cow. Squid Game is no longer subverting the algorithm. It is the algorithm. And yet, even in its most polished, most global, most commodified form, the ache is still there. That K-drama ache. The refusal to give you what you want. Because Squid Game was never about winning. It was about waking up. And maybe that's the most radical thing it could do. And not with the moral, but with a mirror. So, coming back to the title of this video, did Squid Game ruin or reinvent K-dramas? It depends on what you wanted from it. If you wanted the purity of early K-drama storytelling, tight scripts, emotional realism, unapologetic Korean cultural moments, Squid Game might feel like the start of something corporate. But if you saw Squid Game as a breakthrough, as a challenge to the idea that only English language shows can dominate global TV, it absolutely reinvented the space. It didn't ruin K-dramas, it just redefined what they could be. It showed that a Korean show, made with a modest budget and a deeply personal vision, could become the most talked about series in the world. It proved that survival stories don't need superpowers to be compelling, that human desperation is just enough. And it carved a path for other stories, shows, and creators to walk through the doors that were once sealed shut. But maybe that's the price of impact. You change the system, and the system changes you back. So no, Squid Games did not ruin K-dramas. But it didn't walk away unchanged either, and neither did we. Squid Game was never just a show. It was a question, and now it's a conversation. It asked what people are willing to do to survive, yes, of course. But it also asked, what does survival cost? For the characters, for the creators, for the genre it now defines. I wanted to make this video more than just explaining the seasons and spotting Easter eggs. I wanted to make this video to trace the legacy of the show that changed the rules. And whether you loved all of it, some of it, or only season 1, you can't deny the game changed everything. The game may be over, but the system, it's still running.